What is up, everybody, and welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner. Joining me, as he always does, is our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And AJ, exciting day as the UNC basketball show is officially back. I mentioned before the football show we did the previous week, it feels like it's been a while since we've done one. And I'm trying to think, when is the last time we did a basketball show? Do you have any earthly idea?
We did one in May. Yeah.
May. Okay, so maybe not as long as I thought it was.
We did one in like because now you can do basketball shows in May with portal activity and everything else and Elliot Cadeau activity and all that kind of stuff. So we did one in about mid-May.
Yeah, the basketball topics.
But we've been doing basketball-related drops the whole time. I mean, we do probably now, since football's here, I think we're doing a higher percentage of football drops. But during the summer, or during May, June, and July, we probably did about 50-50 football and basketball drops.
As we know, people do love the basketball content for, various different reasons. But again, excited for this show to be back. A lot to kind of run through in here, which might surprise some people because it's like, well, it's middle of August. They can't be doing but so much. But no, a lot to kind of dissect in this one. So starting it off, AJ, players have been away for about 3 weeks. The players are back in class now. Obviously, school starting earlier this week. We did see Carolina release a video, I believe on Monday, showcasing that they had, done the mile run that they always do before the season, something synonymous with Carolina basketball. Heard a lot of stories about that mile run from players in the past and how tough it can be. But yeah, that was taken care of a little bit earlier this week. So real quickly, thoughts on that and kind of where the Tar Heels are at. Because again, back on campus now after a little bit of a hiatus and getting, right stuck into the conditioning side of things.
Yeah, they get a couple breaks during the year right after the spring semester ends. They get a couple of weeks between then and when summer school starts. And back in the olden days, 10 years ago, guys would only be around often for just one semester of summer school or one session of summer school. Now they're usually around for two because there's the camps and they're playing with the former players and everything else. So they had a couple of weeks in May, but I think that the one they really look forward to, the break they look forward to the most is after the second summer school session. That ended in late July. So they had about 3+ weeks where they're able to go do different things. A lot of them go home for part of that time and a lot of them go somewhere to work out. Armando went to LA. He was working out a lot of stuff. He's working out a lot of the kind of things he'll need to display in the combines next year after the season ends when he's becoming a professional. RJ Davis was back home. He had a camp, I think, that he ran at home. So these guys go places and have a chance to sort of decompress. They need to get away from one another. They need to be gone long enough so when they return, it's a fresh start. And it was a fresh start. I kind of thought it was neat if you follow Elliot Cadeau's mother on Twitter. She's a fascinating follow that she's sending her son off to college. And I go through Facebook and see all these photos of friends sending their kids off to college all over the place with these giant chests full of stuff. And you see the back of the SUV with the hood up, the trunk up, and all the stuff's that packed in there. And you see an overflow of toilet paper. Well, like she got Elliot like 500 things of toilet paper. Like they're not going to supply toilet paper in Chapel Hill, right? At Carolina. I just thought it was great because it was the super college student element of it. Mm-hmm. And that's what it is. I think these guys are excited to be back. For guys like Armando and RJ, this is a fresh start with about several exclamation marks because they've had an interesting time. And they absolutely want to win. We started our Look Ahead series this week. We used to run it in the summer, like beginning in late May, early June, and I decided to push it back and serve more as a preview of the season, advance of the season that's just right around the corner. And the focus that I had on the Armando piece is that he just wants to win. He wants to win. He wants to get his jersey up there, but I think he understands if they win, it's because he's playing really well and he'll get his jersey up there. All that will take care of itself. So he wants to win, and they brought in a collection of guys that can help them win. They're good. There's no reason they shouldn't be a much better team than they were last year, better than they were 2 years ago, better than they were 3 years ago in Roy's last year, better than they were 4 years ago in Roy's next to last year. And they could maybe be comparable to 2018, 19 in that range. They have the potential to be that kind of team, which would be more a typical Carolina team, something Armando's never experienced.
I know.
Something RJ's never experienced.
Mm-hmm.
So my sense with the program, there's a ton of enthusiasm with these guys returning now. And there's a lot of freshness to it, which I think is really, really good for this group. And it's good for the fans because I think there's a lot of freshness for the fans as well.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason why basketball numbers have been really strong with audiences because there's so much newness. And I think there's a lot of optimism right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, people do love the basketball content. AJ, I want to give people a quick reminder, too, that this show is sponsored by BetterHelp. We're going to take a quick second here to tell you a little bit more about them and how you can save on your first month. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Sometimes in life, we're faced with tough choices and the path forward isn't always clear. So whether it's dealing with, decisions around your career, maybe your relationship or anything else, whatever it may be, therapy helps you stay connected to what you really want while you navigate life so you can move forward with confidence and excitement and trusting yourself to make these decisions that align with your values is like anything. The more you practice it, the better and easier it gets. I know for me, sometimes as somebody who uses therapy, that sometimes talking things through with someone is just incredibly helpful. And we can all get in our own heads a little bit too much sometimes. And getting out of that by getting feedback from a licensed and trained professional can bring a ton of clarity to your life. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, guys, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule, which is just so huge in my opinion, because convenience is just so big in today's world. And with BetterHelp, you can do everything online. So let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/THI to get 10% off your first month. Again, that's betterhelp.com/THI to get 10% off your first month. Links in the description below. Back to the show. Big thank you to BetterHelp. Again, links in the description below. AJ, formal practice does start in a month, and obviously between then players will be doing kind of some individual workouts, a couple days a week with coaches and things like that. So they are still obviously grinding and staying in shape and working on their games. And this is why this time of year is very important. A lot of people, I don't think, they think about summer, they think about the start of practice, but this is still an important time where these players are refining their games, fine-tuning things and working on and continue to develop some of those things that they either talk to Hubert and other coaches about during the off season and what they need to develop moving into the next one. So again, these weeks are massive before the start of formal practice, but they tend to be times that I think people quite often overlook, not only because of football, but because there's just not a lot going on formally as of right now with Carolina basketball.
Yeah, one of the reasons we don't go strong on sneaking into the Dean Dome and watching pickup games in June is because in basketball, a player's game could change a lot quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And I think one of the really cool things about this time of year is that they've had their April, May workouts. They've had their summer workouts and their pickup and everything else. Now they went away. Some of the guys worked on their own. And you can enhance a skill in 10 days. In basketball, if you train the right way. So now they're back and they're refining, enhancing, whatever you want to call it, certain aspects of their games with the coaches. They can use some two-man stuff, a lot of individual stuff with the coaches. So this is a time for you go through everything that you went through so far in the off season and, okay, what have you enhanced? What still needs work? And they kind of I don't want to say put a bow on that, but it's like putting the icing on the cake. So the cake's out of the oven. Now you start putting icing on there and you got to put little things. The reason I'm thinking that's my daughter just baked her own birthday cake the other day.
That's pretty awesome.
It was very, 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 very sweet, by the way.
I can imagine.
So my wife even opted not to give any of the neighbors because it was so sweet. But she gets an A for effort, right? Absolutely. So that's kind of what they're doing right now. And all that will build into a month from now when they start formal practices. And then it's 5.5 weeks and they're rocking into the season. So It's going to be here before you know it. It's less than 80 days away, I believe. So 80 days ago was early June. So it's here. It's almost here. And when football starts, boom, basketball's going to happen fast because as you know, August is the slowest month of the year. For me, because the football grind, the football cave, I call it, with fall camp and everything. But once games start, things just take off. They're really fast, and basketball will be here before you know it. So this is a really important time, especially now for a group that has a lot of new guys. We're talking about the newness on this team. Well, the coaches are getting to know these guys even more as well. They're getting to know their games. They're getting more comfortable with the coaching of the coaches. Cormac Ryan's had 2 different college staffs already. Now he has a third one. This is a really important stretch for him to get used to working with Bradford, to get used to working with Jeff Lebo, to cement and fortify those relationships. They're going to come in real handy in January, February, and March. So it's not just a skills time; it's a bonding time. It's a getting cohesive and gaining trust with the coaches, and vice versa with the players, especially the new guys. And James Okonkwo even more so, because he just showed up.
Yeah,
I mean, he arrived right at the end of the second summer session. So this is a really important period for him. Working with Sean May, they got to get to know his game more intimately. He's got to get used to their style and coaching, the communication game, to know the players. So this is a really important month for him. So by the time practice starts, James Okonkwo fully feels like he's a Tar Heel.
Yeah, I finally saw the first picture of him that I think Carolina's released. They did like a first day of class kind of Instagram with, pictures around players, around campus going to class, and he was in one. So I think that's the first glimpse anybody's really seen of Okonkwo, but can't confirm he is in class and is on campus as we all expected and known. But yeah, first glimpse of him, go look on Carolina's Instagram and probably on Twitter too, and you'll find it pretty quickly. AJ, feeding into that, because you talk about when September comes, August is slow, but September comes and the season's here before you know it. Blue-white scrimmage is scheduled, which is a certified NIL event. There is not an actual team event. No coaches involved in this. Scheduled for the morning of September 9th, the same day as the Appalachian State football game, which starts at 5:30. Scrimmage is slated to start at 11:30 a.m. General admission tickets are $20. I'm sure there'll be a good amount of fans in the Smith Center for that, especially ahead of the App State game, which is in the evening. Still plenty of time to tailgate and all that stuff that fans like to do before the game. But that's, I guess, kind of the next thing coming up for the Tar Heels. Again, not a formal event, but one that I know fans look forward to. And you can kind of maybe get a first glimpse of some guys, especially with this team that has just so many new faces on it.
Yeah, you can. And I don't think there's any media access.
No, I don't believe,
because they did this a year ago and there wasn't. So, and I don't know how much you can take from something like this. I think for a lot of people, just to see the guys and get a little taste of their games, if you will, that would be a lot.
It's just a certified pickup game. Let's be honest, right? I mean, it's a pickup game.
And what it is, it's more so just this is a way fans can actually support kids now.
Yeah.
And they can do that stuff. We talk about the collective in football all the time, and Carolina football fans need to be better at enhancing the collective, because it will actually result in getting better players there and keeping better players there. Basketball doesn't as much have that problem, but there's some schools out there that have Brinks trucks cruising around the basketball complex. I'm not going to say who they are, but they have K's in their name. They have K's in their name. Yeah, and Carolina still needs to be able to compete for some of that. So this is a great opportunity for the kids to make some cash. And I think for the new ones, it just gives them an opportunity to play in that building as a member of that team, because Paxton Wojcik, Cormac Ryan, and Jalen Withers have played in that building, but as visiting players. Now they get to play in that building in front of fans as home players. So I think there's a lot of value to that. They get that out of the way. So when they do play, I think it's St. Aug's in the scrimmage.
Yeah, October 27th. Yep, that's the exhibition game. Yep.
That'll be their second time at home in front of a crowd as Tar Heels. And I think when you're talking about guys that have been other places for a while, they need to have those experiences. The sooner they could feel fully meshed, fully embedded, the better, especially given the difficulty of the early schedule for this team and the fact that the last couple of years they spent January and February chasing a bid. Mm-hmm. And you don't want this team spending January and February chasing a bid inside a league that's not going to get a lot of bids, where it's difficult to accumulate a quality resume. So the sooner these guys, are who they are Tar Heels, are fully meshed, are cohesive, the better for everybody in the program and certainly for the fans, because this club has a chance to be very good, like I've said, and I'm going to say that a lot. But but it's going to maybe take some work to get there. And so much of that work is happening right now.
Yeah. And once again, that your point and what you're talking about just illustrates how big of an offseason it is, not only for this team, but for the program. When you look at what's kind of happened over the last, even going back before Hubert got here, last 4 years, really. A lot of expectations around this team, a lot of talent on this roster, and a huge offseason because these guys have to mesh. They have to understand each other's games. They have to get comfortable wearing a North Carolina uniform because it's different, AJ, than, Notre Dame. It's different than West Virginia. It's different than Brown. I mean, it just is. So there's a lot of different things that go into it, and that comfort level is going to be incredibly important going into the year. AJ, last topic that we're going to talk about in this show is the ACC conference schedule. Should be released relatively soon, and then we'll kind of have the full slate, the full schedule as a non-conference schedule has been released as well. So looking forward to seeing how that one shakes out, because we've talked about it. Non-conference schedule is tricky. There will be some conference games mixed into that non-conference schedule, especially as it gets into November. So really, really interested to see how this ACC schedule comes out. And again, we'll do a podcast on that separately as well. But I guess that's kind of the next big thing to look forward to in terms of announcements from the ACC and Carolina basketball related.
Yeah, the kids admitted, and even Hubert sort of hinted at last year, that going out to Portland and playing those 3 games and then having to play at Virginia Tech on that Sunday, the day after the ACC football championship game, and then a couple of days later playing at Indiana in the ACC Big Ten Challenge, that the ACC did them no favors having them play on the road that Sunday. None at all. And that was too much of a grind, and they lost 4 games in that stretch. So it'll be really interesting to see where those ACC games in December are and when they are. They can't play on the 16th because they have the game against Kentucky. So it would more than likely be then the 9th and the weekend of the 2nd, which is the ACC championship game. The 5th, in the middle of that following week, they play UConn in Madison Square Garden. Mm-hmm. So if you're talking about the Bahamas, and then you're talking about a road ACC game on December 3rd, and then you're talking about 2 or even a 2nd, and then you're talking about UConn and MSG on the 5th, that's a tough stretch.
Yeah.
So I would think, given last year, and the ACC tries to flip things each year, they get a home game, and maybe not even anybody that weekend. Maybe they have a Friday night game. Who knows? But they'll probably have a game tucked in there, and then they'll get another one later in the month. And then just before New Year's, they'll launch into nothing but ACC play, I guess, after the Charleston Southern game. So I do not know what the schedule is going to be. We do know who the home and homes are, and the only away and the only at home games are, but it'll come out next week. It always comes out before football starts because they want to get a splash.
Yeah.
And there's an ACC football game, I think, next Thursday night. Wake plays Elon.
I believe you're right.
So they're going to have to do this before then. They haven't sent any emails out. The league hasn't, saying, hey, it's going to come up at this particular time. I think they will soon, I would imagine. So maybe by the time this podcast runs, that will have come out. But I expect it to be released next week. Mm-hmm. And to me, the most important part of that schedule is the ACC games in December. When are they and where are they?
Yeah. Again, you're 100% right, because we saw Carolina struggle last year with some of those games mixed in, that Virginia Tech game, like you mentioned, and they have a similar kind of travel experience here because they're going to the Bahamas, they're going to New York, they're playing in the CBS Sports Classic. And I'm missing some as well that are, so there's just
they got the game against Oklahoma and Charlotte as well. Yeah,
there's a lot of travel.
And there's Tennessee. Yeah, I forgot the Tennessee.
Tennessee, yes.
Tennessee at home. I mean, in the ACC SEC Challenge, there are not a lot of spots in there.
No.
To be honest with you, I've never been a big fan of conference games in December. I think it's foolish, especially when the students aren't there. And games in December. Last year, Carolina played at Pitt on December 30th. That was that wonderful trip where I had to fly out to San Diego for the bowl game and then fly from San Diego to Pittsburgh for basketball. And there weren't any Pitt students there.
Yeah.
And I thought I mean, and they have the Oakland Zoo, and they have a pretty good student section. There weren't any students there. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
But they when you play a 20-game conference schedule, which doesn't make any sense, then you have to squeeze games into times when you shouldn't have conference games.
Yeah, agreed. That schedule should be trimmed down a little bit. Will it? No, but it should be. And that's another podcast for itself. I think we've talked about that in podcasts years ago when this kind of change first happened.
And I'll tell you, the league's eventually going to add, and they're not trimming when they add.
Be 28 conference games for you know it. Just wait. So we'll be doing a podcast on that
needs to allow. I think the NCAA should. I know there's been a movement to add a couple games to the schedule, but they start early enough. It was 20 years ago they were starting Thanksgiving weekend. Now they're starting right at the beginning of November, and you got to have the NCAA tournament when they have it. So squeeze in more games in December. I think you need more non-conference games. You need to get a better gauge. That hurts the league. It's hurt the league the last couple of years. And Roy said it. Roy said, I remember sitting in the press room when Roy was talking about the 20-game schedule. He said the league's going to regret it. I'm paraphrasing here. You know, it's going to keep some teams out of the tournament. And it has. 2019, the ACC had 3 number 1 seeds. Now they're getting 5 teams in the field. So,
I know. It has. Roy was right, and he's like he saw the future with that one. So
he saw it 100%. Again,
will it change? No, but yeah, that's the world we live in right now with college sports and college basketball in particular. So AJ, again, I'll remind people as well. October 27th exhibition against St. Augustine's, and the season starts at home against Radford on November 5th. So not too far away. NIL event mixed in there as well. Again, that is before the App State game on September 9th. So you'll be able to see the Heels before, and there'll obviously be, late night with Hubert or whatever they call it now before the season starts.
I'm not sure they're going to do that, by the way.
Oh, really? I haven't heard about that.
I'm not sure they're going to do that. Yeah.
I haven't heard about that.
I was talking to somebody in the program. It was a while ago. They said it was the day that we had Hubert's summer presser. So that was in fairly late July, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. That
late
was
July,
a week before ACC kickoff. Yeah, it was late July. And I was told that, they're not sure they're going to do it.
Interesting. So, that's interesting because it seems to be a pretty likable event.
But that's like a month ago now.
Yeah.
That conversation was a month ago. It could have changed by now. So I'll check into it, but
we'll see what happens. But yeah, that is interesting. That is interesting.
It is, but it's a big event. And I missed it last year because I was in Miami because I had football the next day.
Yeah. The only good thing about it is the scrimmage. You can kind of get to see them a little bit. But again,
it's just a celebration.
It's a celebration. To me, it's a little bit too drawn out. I always thought the women should kind of have their own separate thing because it's instead of something that used to last about an hour and a half, it's 2+ hours now. And it just feels like people are there for the scrimmage for the most part. And that's like the final 30 minutes of 45 minutes of the thing. And to me, it just got a little bit too drawn out, but I do understand why they incorporated the women in there. I just thought it'd be cool if they had their own thing as well and got to play a little bit longer of a scrimmage on their end. But yeah, just a event that maybe should be reshaped a little bit, or maybe just not done at all. We'll see what happens.
How about turn the exhibition game into something like that?
Yeah. That'd be cool. That would be cool.
They do the secret scrimmage. Don't do the secret scrimmage anymore. Actually, play an exhibition game against a good program and do some elements of that. Obviously, you're not going to do skits and stuff before a basketball game.
You can have some fun with it.
Do some interesting introductions. If there's a banner, if there's some kind of announcement, some kind of commemoration or something like that. You do it all then, and you're going to get 20,000 people in there for an exhibition game.
Absolutely. Yeah. The attendance at late night with you, it's always been solid, but I remember years ago when I first started going to one, when I first started here, I went to one, and it seems like attendance was better back then than maybe it is now. I don't know why that is, but I can understand maybe why they're maybe considering not doing that anymore. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Again, stay tuned for announcements on that. And ultimately, if Carolina decides they're not going to do it and continue to do it, then, Carolina will announce something about that over the next couple months. So stay tuned for that and keep it locked to TarIllustrated.com for all your coverage of North Carolina football, basketball, and recruiting. You can sign up for just $8.33 a month to be a premium subscriber. You can be a Carolina insider too over here at TarIllustrated.com. Links in the description below. Great time to do so with football in full swing and basketball not too far around the corner. And obviously recruiting is a 365 day a year thing as well. So again, come sign up. Links in the description below. Big thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring us. Again, check them out, betterhelp.com/THI to get 10% off your first month. Links in the description below for that as well. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones for an episode of the UNC Basketball Show. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell as well, so you know every single time we upload. See you all in the next one. Thanks.